Here's some botched up extra bits. Fries on the side.
What's up? This is the Botched Up Podcast. This is the Chit Chat. As always, you're with me, Benito, and my good friend Basil.
Howdy, partner.
And this week, I got no idea what we're talking about because I watched a load of UFC. So, what are we talking about?
Well, to start with, if you have anything whatsoever to get off your chest, it can be about mixed martial arts. You can do that here because this is the safe place of chit chat. So, is there anything that you wanted to talk about?
Only that the first UFC card of the year was dope, and if you ever get a chance, I know you haven't seen it, if anyone listening hasn't seen it, they should definitely go check it out. It was a really good UFC card. There was four finishes on the main card, and then the main event went to decision, but it was an absolute war, so it was a great card to start the year.
That was the Max Holloway fight, right?
Yeah, and do you want spoilers?
No, I actually do. I am starting to enjoy UFC shows.
Okay, I won't give you spoilers, but you got to check out that card because there was a couple of wars, there was a couple of really good finishes, and like I said, main event went to decision, but they just killed each other for 5 rounds.
It'd probably be the first card that I've watched in full then. So I usually just watch the main events over the past couple months. I don't know whether it's a lack of crowd or just being in a pandemic and not like having far more time on my hands, but I've enjoyed UFC in 2020 more than I've ever enjoyed UFC before.
There was a crowd at this one. A small crowd, not many people, but
Is it still on Fight Island?
Yeah, still on Fight Island, which is why I think they can get around having a few people in attendance. But like you said, I really like UFC with no crowds because the fights feel even more brutal because you can hear every single hit.
I'm not sure whether it makes it more atmospheric or I just get more immersed in it, but the crowds not being there actually generates more of an interest for me because I can just sit and watch the fight. Maybe I've got ADHD or something, but it's not the same as in wrestling in which crowds make the fight. You go to the fight for the fight, so I haven't really noticed the difference between crowds and lack thereof. In
a weird way, the crowd takes away from fights.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. If you're going to watch this card, the Holloway versus Qatar, the co-main, Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown, was also... it was a really great wrestling match. They both took each other to the ground and they both tried to one-up each other.
Well, I'll definitely be checking it out this week, along with New Japan Wrestle Kingdom Night 2, which I said last week that I'd check out this week, but never did. So I've just got a growing list of
Honestly, you're probably never going to get round to that. And if you don't, you should at least check out the main event. The Jay White versus Ibushi match was incredible. Honestly, I think that might be a contender for best match of the year already.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to watch that because last time I tried to watch a match of the year contender, I had to find it on illegal streams from February, and I was watching in January the next year. So that's pretty difficult.
We're watching it in Spanish.
I tried to. I ended up with a stream which showed me the same car advert twice every 3 minutes, so I'm not sure that I got the full impact out of that match.
Ain't it crazy when you watch it illegally that the Spanish offerings stay online for years?
It always the exact same with blockbuster Hollywood films as well. You can find them on YouTube. Just because it's in Spanish translation, nobody cares.
Anyway, I'd like to talk to you about Hard to Kill. Now, I know neither of us has actually watched the pay-per-view yet, but I know that you're a massive Impact fan, and I'm sure you must know the results by now. I want to get your take on the results.
So this goes into more of a general piece of conversation that I wanted to talk to you about anyway. Hard to Kill was on Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
And how many AEW big players were in the pay-per-view? Just Kenny,
and then I guess kind of the Good Brothers are somewhat... Well, I suppose they're Impact first, but they're now part of the Elite. Well, this is the thing. This is what I wanted to discuss. Is the Bullet Club back? Because they all came out in Bullet Club attire.
Yeah, which is... I didn't really fully understand the significance of that until I looked into it a little bit. Kind of the equivalent of a WCW guy turning up on a WWE show with an NWO shirt on, right?
Yeah, for sure, because New Japan have never really allowed all of their stuff to go over to America because they want to try and invade America themselves. So these guys are allowed to say that they're part of the club. Ken Anderson invented Bullet Club, and now I feel like the American version of Bullet Club is really starting to rise.
In terms of my opinion on Kenny Omega in the main event of Hard to Kill, I'm a little bit wary and a little bit confused by this whole thing now for several different reasons. Just from an Impact standpoint, they obviously have a television taping schedule which doesn't adhere well to the live quality of Dynamite. For all of the weeks that they've had Good Brothers or they've had Impact people coming on to Dynamite or they've been talking or referencing Dynamite, it's worked well for AEW. Don Callis as the hand that holds things behind the things has been a good addition to Kenny Omega's heel persona. At the same time, they've had the Good Brothers turn up with their Bullet Club family for the big finish to Dynamite 2 weeks ago, which was an amazing end segment to a television show. I'm a little bit curious at this point as to what Impact themselves think they're getting out of this relationship with AEW. I know that on the basis of that statement, it sounds a bit ludicrous, because AEW are regularly pulling in nearly 1 million viewers. They have a far wider reach in terms of potential audiences than Impact does. I get all of that. And maybe the Hard to Kill pay-per-view buys will surprise me. Maybe the use of Kenny Omega will really actually affect their product.
You're really downselling Kenny Omega, I think. I know you're not the biggest fan of Kenny Omega, but outside of WWE, Kenny Omega is the biggest star in the world.
Okay, but no, I'm not having a go at Kenny here. That's
No, I know, but so Don Callis is like a majority shareholder of Impact. Bringing Omega on, I mean, 10 years ago, could you ever imagine Kenny Omega being in TNA?
No,
You know?
And I get the surface value of Kenny Omega turning up on a show with far less viewers. I think the point I'm making here is that Impact tapes 5 to 6 weeks of TV at a time. So the next set of Impact tapings, which I think is coming up in the next couple of days, should be extremely interesting. Because that's when, if they have Kenny, if they have other AEW guys, they can weave them into their television product and actually have AEW and Impact people having matches, having main event segments. They can work up to the inevitable Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann main event, which I assume is going to be happening at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, I know you don't listen to the newsletter, but Uncle Dave's prediction is that on the next pay-per-view, I don't know what it's called, but the next pay-per-view is in April, I think. So I've been told is probably going to be Omega versus Rich Swann, title versus title.
Yeah.
With the idea probably Kenny is going to become Impact Champion.
Yep.
And that he's probably going to keep that championship until he at least loses the AEW championship first, and then he'll job to someone else in Impact.
So up to this point, the Impact AEW stuff has not been great for Impact purely because of the fact that they can't really do anything. They have to
You don't think so? You don't think this has brought probably a lot of viewers over to Impact?
Not really, no.
It's brought me over. Given
the viewership on US television, it hasn't really changed. I'm sure there's a lot of online fans who are streaming this stuff, like us, that have put more eyes on the Impact product. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that given Impact's roster, given Impact's storytelling, and given the fact that Impact is just about working itself back up to a good momentum, inserting Kenny Omega in skits on Impact's television program in which he just is on a bus every week, it really does feel like everybody asked the question originally of what is AEW getting out of this relationship with Impact. At this point, before the next set of tapings, I would say more than Impact's getting out of AEW, because up until this point they've had their hands tied behind their back. They can only put Omega on skits, and they're having to insert that. I think the worst thing is they're having to insert Omega into their television that they've already taped, seemingly before they realized they were going to have a deal with AEW. So what's come out of this is the new sets of eyes that you're talking about, which is correct, looking at a normal bang average Impact show, which hasn't been changed from before they even realized that they would be dealing with AEW. So first impressions to me count, and what the people that have joined and thrown onto Impact have been seeing is a very average wrestling show. And I know that that's going to improve because now they've got a whole set of tapings in which they can get AEW guys in. But it's not a good look at the moment. That's all I'm saying. I do also find it ironic that I can see a very inevitable future where Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and the Bullet Club, who said that they would never sort of become selfish and take over the industry. Kenny Omega's the world champion of AEW. The Young Bucks are the world tag team champions of AEW, and I fully believe that Kenny Omega will become the Impact world champion, and the Young Bucks will become the tag team world champions.
Well, the Good Brothers have the Impact Championships, right?
Right, at the moment.
So all of the belts by April maybe will be controlled by Bullet Club. Bullet Club USA. So if you like.
What's to stop them taking over Impact in general and doing the WCW NWO thing?
What, just throwing the belts away?
No, as in like, what would be good for business? The Bullet Club take over Impact. And then the Impact guys go onto AEW and say, hey, you're taking over our show, we're going to take over yours. And then they try and do the big invasion stuff.
See, that's a very pessimistic view. I think right now, this is great for Impact. I could see what you're saying, like, in a couple of months' time, AEW could absolutely just, lack of a better word, rape Impact, steal their talent, completely destroy their show, take over the show even, maybe. But right now, I think this is only helping them.
It's only helping them in the short term. I do get worried a little bit about the long term.
My problem is, right...
Because but one thing, right? Kenny Omega beating Rich Swann for the World Championship in Impact would be a great move short term. Because, I mean, how many people are going to tune in and say, Kenny Omega's also this champion on this other American television wrestling show. We're going to go check that out because we love Kenny Omega. That out of everything is going to put the most eyes on the product. Do I believe that Kenny would job to an Impact guy to give that championship belt back? I don't know about that. I feel like it would be on AEW television and he would drop the Impact belt to another AEW guy who would then drop the belt to an Impact guy.
Possibly. But right now, let's talk about Hard to Kill. I know you're an Impact guy, and actually there's a couple of people on Impact I really like. Specifically, Moose. I've heard reports. I haven't watched the pay-per-view yet. I'm going to get on it as soon as possible. I heard out of that main event, Moose was the absolute star. He was the star player of that match, even more than Kenny. Because obviously Kenny is, well, he's a Hall of Famer in our prime, right? But Moose came out of that match looking the best. Apparently, again, I haven't watched it yet.
Which is mad, because Moose was thrown in there at the last minute, because I think Eddie Edwards was injured.
Alex Shelley.
Alex Shelley.
Because it was meant to be Motor City Machine Guns.
I don't really understand why Moose wasn't involved in that match in the first place. I've said to you many times, Moose is...
My point is that Moose has taken his opportunity and absolutely run with it. I think Moose understands that a lot of the AEW community are watching, maybe not the pay-per-view, but they're at least watching this match because the Elite, Bullet Club, if you like, the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega are a part of this match. So Moose has made himself a star in one match.
Yep.
Which has got to only make you happy as an Impact guy.
All credit to him, man. Yeah, definitely. Moose, I've already said in my 2021 predictions, will be picked up this year, I think.
So, being pessimistic, how long is it until Moose joins AEW?
I would not have an issue with Moose joining AEW in the slightest. Moose has outstayed his welcome in Impact, not because he's bad, but because he's better than most of the roster, and I really believe that he needs to move on. I see WWE as more of a natural fit for Moose, but at the same time, Moose is really good as face or heel. He's a better heel. And AEW doesn't just need black guys, but it needs big guys. And Moose is a big black guy that can do everything. So I think AEW would be stupid not to be hinting at some sort of money contract with Moose right now.
AEW needs Moose, but Moose needs NXT.
I think Moose would do better in NXT, and I can see Moose as a guy that Vince McMahon would look at and say, strapping lad can work, and he might actually get somewhere on WWE TV. And I think Moose is aware of that as well. So, as you said, I'm not sure how much Moose thinks that he needs AEW over WWE. So that's going to be interesting. I am happy that TNA Impact had a pay-per-view, because my problem that I was mentioning before was that they'd had taped TV already. So whoever's tuning in from AEW to check this stuff out can't check out the product at its best once it's already aware of the fact that it's got fresh eyes. So I haven't watched the pay-per-view yet either, but I hope that it's of good quality, of what Impact fans know that Impact Wrestling can deliver.
To be fair, the one compliment we've always given Impact over every single other American company is that when they know they're going to get eyes, they nail it.
Very good at it, yeah.
I'm
a little bit confused as to why, as far as I can see, Jordan Grace was not on this card. That's one of your biggest players in Impact, and she's seemingly not here.
Well, you've known for a long time, Jordan Grace is one of the main reasons I've ever paid attention to Impact. I think she could be amazing anywhere she goes if she had a better platform than Impact. Not to shit on Impact, but if she had that national platform, she could be a star.
I'm looking forward to the Hard to Kill main event. I will check it out. I am enjoying the idea of Kenny Omega in Impact. I don't want it to turn it into a situation in which Impact is used and abused and thrown away.
You know what?
That's been happening to that company for forever.
For a long time. But you know what? Omega loves the business. I feel like he's putting his star power on a smaller promotion that needs the help, and it's only going to help propel them.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to help, and I agree with you that if the Bucks get involved, the Bucks are going to put the limelight on themselves, where I feel like Omega doesn't do that. It's
less AEW ego and more is Impact ready for this. My other thing was, as you know, it's pretty tricky to celebrate a birthday this year and last year, and I'm going to be 27 soon, and all I've got is rejection letters and a sense of impending doom. So I take any present that's given to me, and WWE this year have given me the present of WWE Superstar Spectacle on the 26th of January to celebrate Republic Day in India, which was when the Constitution of India was created, turning India into a democratically governed system. And I was wondering, Ben, as it's on my birthday, would you like to podcast this?
We don't do webcam, but my face is in my hand. So WWE are celebrating India's independence.
Yes, with a Superstar Spectacle. Which on top of...
So the Saudi deal has spread to India, yeah? They're trying to break... Well, they've been trying to break India since Jinder Mahal did his whole push thing.
Well, I looked at their official press release with Sony Entertainment, who I believe are the channel that carry WWE in India. And India ranks as number one for WWE YouTube consumption and number one in WWE Facebook followers. So they have a hell of a lot of fans there.
Sure, and they've known that for years, but they can't seem to be able to put on a successful show there.
What I find quite amusing is that if they have the number one for YouTube consumption in India, if they also had that for the network, they'd probably mention it. so most of India's population are watching free clips on YouTube but not bothering to actually get the network.
Is that probably how the UK audience is as well? And the Japanese audience? And the Australian audience?
Literally anywhere.
And the South African audience?
Yeah. So as well as normal WWE talent, we will also have the Jinder Mahal, the Bollywood Boys, the giant NXT tag team Indus Sher, who just apparently disappeared for like the last 8 months.
Is so the guys with the I can't remember his name now.
Malcolm, the little black dude manager.
Oh no, I was thinking of the Lucha guy that demasked, and it really pissed me off and turned me off NXT for a while.
They're Mexican.
Okay, I'm just being racist. Sorry.
Jeet Rama, never heard of him. Kavita Devi, first Indian woman to sign contract. Great Khali trainees, Giant Zanjir, who stands at 7'2", and Dilsha Shanki at 7 foot, and Guru Raj, who again I've never heard of.
Okay, so there is a Indian-based tag team that are huge. They're in Japan, they're in Mexico. I'm really showing that I don't know wrestling very well because I can't remember their name. They're literally huge. And they are meant to six-man tag with Jinder Mahal on one of these WWE cards. And I can't remember their name.
I think that's Indus Sher. I think that was the guys that I was talking about.
No, they have a really stupid wrestling name. Like the Beautiful Boys or something.
The Bollywood boys.
Maybe something like that.
They're on 205 Live at the moment. Anyway, I had two things about this. Number one, it's on my birthday. We're podcasting it.
Okay.
Number two, not on my birthday. I'll be drunk on my birthday, but we'll be whatever. You get it.
Yeah.
Number two, do you think this is a sign of things to come, just like NXT UK, which Walter is languishing on, having amazing matches because nobody's watching the product? Do you think we will soon have NXT India and it becomes its own thing?
Obviously, dude. Yeah, obviously. This is the years ago they wanted to have NXT India and they wanted to have NXT Japan. This is the start of it. This is the rolling ball. WWE want to be an international product, and they pretend that they are, but they're not. They're an American product because they only run shows in America. Every now and then they do a Raw in Italy, and they do a Raw in London, UK. They want to be an international product, and Triple H has devised a business plan, if you like, for them to become an international product. NXT has run shows in Australia very successfully, in Japan very successfully, and they've tried to break India. That's what the whole Jinder Mahal experiment was for. So if they can break India, then they've got a foothold in Japan, because right next door, if you like, globally. And if they can break Japan, a lot of people don't realise this, but a lot of Australians love New Japan Wrestling because a lot of those guys go there. It's next door, if you like. So if NXT can break these markets, they've got a foothold of Asia. Vince is going to die before WWE can really become an international company, but Triple H is going to make it happen.
Really, really good points there. I have a lot to think about. And going forward, we have seen a failed, I can't remember what it's called, Rinker King. We've seen a failed Indian experiment with Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett with Global Force Wrestling. They
currently have Jeff Jarrett backstage as a producer.
However, India love wrestling.
But they can't seem to break the market, as you said.
But WWE can. WWE have the money to break the market.
So would you expect Jarrett to be put on this project?
Well, he'll work backstage. He won't be frontman.
No, but you'd expect them to use his expertise and contacts within India, right?
Contacts? But what contacts does he have? Maybe 15, 20 people? Triple H is way more important. Triple H understands the current generation of audience. He understands the globalization of the business, which is everything I hate about wrestling. I love small audiences. I love Ring of Honor.
I just found this interesting because as we see WWE's power in North America decline week by week, we see the ratings drop yearly by 1 million to the point now where a decent rating for Raw is 2.1. Everybody was talking about the Legends Night being a 2.1 million show. Everybody was like, oh, Raw bumped a good rating. That's not a good rating. That is not a good rating considering this show at its peak did 8 million. Maybe the Saudi Arabian deal into NXT India, into expansion into China and Japan, South Africa, maybe this is the future of WWE's business.
Bam, you hit it. China. Vince doesn't give a shit. Vince is making money. The Saudi deal has given Vince a retirement plan. And once they've got India, then they'll take over Japan. Japan wants to break America. Bad news to Japan, WWE is going to break Japan before New Japan breaks America.
Interesting.
Because they've got the star power, they've got the video games, they've got the merchandise, they've got everything in place to be able to do this. WWE already owns Europe. New Japan tried to break Europe with Real Quality Wrestling, a company both you and me really like. We love RQW. We've been to their shows. We love what they put out. We love the people that they put there. New Japan have tried to put their own people there, and it's worked. You know, I went to New Japan's UK London show. New Japan have tried to bake America, but America's just... WWE is just too much of a force to be able to contend with. And
at this point, WWE is a household brand in the way that household brands exist without having any goodwill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody buys the same brand of butter, pretty much. Nobody is saying that WWE's content is great. It's just, if you're talking about that wrestling, it's WWE.
Critically, WWE shit, but everybody buys WWE video games every single year. And you might think, oh, I'm just buying a wrestling game, but that makes literally billions for the company.
And at this point, it's not about changing the dynamic of the wrestling industry, because that's going to affect us and wrestling fans. What someone like AEW needs to do is become the name that your mother knows. That's it.
Exactly. And I feel like Alvarez and Meltzer talk about wrestling critically every single week. I mean, that's what they do. They talk about wrestling critically every single week. They talk about New Japan being the best wrestling show in the world. And sure, they are. For people like you and me, man, we love wrestling. Of course, WWE is probably the weakest product across the entire globe. But for the casual fan, WWE is wrestling.
It is wrestling. There's nothing else in wrestling.
Exactly.
That is wrestling. Just before we cut it off here, England, our home country, is quite an interesting one, because WWE have already attempted their own brand, which nobody in the UK watches, and we have noticeably had fan buzz, fan interest in other promotions more than any other country in the world. Impact 2010 to 2013 had so much goodwill here.
Oh man, earlier than that.
They were being watched by more people in England than in America.
Dude, when did we go to their show? 2008? 2009?
26th of January 2010.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the UK market financially is probably a lot smaller than India, Japan, Australia, South Africa, because we're a smaller country. There's less people here. As wrestling fans, we're probably maybe the third strongest wrestling community in the world.
So the point I wanted to make with this is that AEW is on ITV4, which is a Freeview channel, and WWE is on BT Sport, which is behind more paywalls than Sky Sports, because Sky Sports is usually bought by families. Football are probably going to pick up Sky Sports. They're not going to pick up BT Sports.
UFC went on to BT Sports first, and I feel like WWE followed because they knew a lot of their audience were already there.
But right now, AEW's getting higher ratings by over 500,000 viewers.
Sure,
in the UK.
It's on ITV. It's on free TV.
Are we seeing the collapse of WWE slowly in the UK, and will that follow in other countries?
Cody and Tony Khan have been very public about how much they want to run TV shows here, and if it wasn't for the pandemic, they would have run a show here already.
Oh, bro, 2020, we were supposed to not only get the first British AEW show, we were also supposed to get the first WWE pay-per-view since 1992.
So, well, it would have been AEW, they would have run 3 TV shows and Fyter Fest, the pay-per-view, and WWE would have run, if I'm not mistaken, Hell in the Cell.
Man.
Well, we've ran way too long on this. So
you got passionate, man. You had some Bushmills down in you, and I talked about Japanese markets, and then boom, you were straight out of the gate. That was more of an impassioned promo than Meltzer's been able to deliver in the last 5 years.
You bring Japan up with me. I'm gonna take you some places.
Cool.
Anyway, until next time. The next podcast is the best of 2020. We'll do our awards. We've already done the worst of. Until then, keep it botched up, brother.
Brother.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.